All right, here we are. Welcome to Playback, the radio show all about the Billboard Hot 100 and what's trending in music right now. I am singer-songwriter Nina Blue.
And I am Joseph Benitez, aka Jay Xander. I'm also a singer-songwriter here in the Washington, D.C. area.
Awesome. I am located out of Austin, Texas, and we right now are practicing for a potential podcast that we would like to launch. Jay, do you want to talk about what the podcast is going to be about?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about all just modern music in general, especially anything that is coming from the Billboard charts specifically, like the top 100, any albums also that might come up. So just like music news and anything surrounding that in general is what we're going to be covering on Playback.
Yep. And Jay and I met at Berkeley. We both have our master's degrees in songwriting. So this is going to be a songwriting heavy podcast. Hang on. You have to turn off invites, and I forget how to do that. So this is both us practicing for a podcast and just doing a TikTok live and seeing whoever shows up. I'm going to check in with comments every few minutes. But let's get into some news items. News number one today is very unfortunate. The legend Sinead O'Connor, Irish singer of Nothing Compares to You, has died at the young age of 56. And anyone out there who does not think that 56 is young, approach 30 and tell me how you feel about it.
It is Gen Z, just so you know. It's totally young. It's a shame we don't have a picture of the Pope to rip up right now in her honor. I would totally do that on a live. That would
I
be.
feel a little bad doing that about Papa Francisco. I
That's
would do
true.
definitely for Benedict.
That's true. A
Did you
shame.
grow up Catholic? Because I did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was such a moment in television history. I mean, the amount of
Absolutely.
outrage against her was so unfair, and that it's about something that we're still dealing with today that's being uncovered is like a huge deal.
Can you imagine that happening today? That would be even wilder. Like just the type of backlash she would receive for that.
Oh, I think
Oh
so.
my
I
God.
think, however, I think she would find more support. Like there were so many
Yeah.
people who were like, "Oh, we recognize the," well, there would still be those like kind of both sides people today. Those people saying, "Oh, we recognize the message, but we don't think that this was appropriate, blah blah blah." And but I think honestly, I think it would have made her a Gen Z queen. Like I think she would have been wildly admired for her bravery in doing that more so than she ever would have in the 90s.
And it would have made SNL relevant again. So there's that.
Hey, I mean, how many of those TikTok trends are like basically fueled by old SNL?
Which
So like
which
all the
ones?
CapCut stuff with what's his,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Well, there's that.
there's a lot of SNL there. The other story that we want to talk about is Morgan Wallen's last night has been knocked off the number one spot for the first time in 14 weeks. We'll get a little more into this song in a little bit, but it was because of these two fast entries onto the Billboard Hot 100, Jungkook's Seven and Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town, a song that has invited a whole lot of controversy. And also, Britney Spears is back with Will I Am. You and I were talking about the song earlier. How did you feel about it?
Yes. So it is a lot of choppy vocal lyrics. I think I heard some article somewhere or read about it saying that the song was recorded like a really long time ago and that she recorded it on an iPhone. And honestly, it sounds like that.
That
I'm not gonna
tracks.
lie.
That
Yeah.
absolutely that makes more sense than anything that I've heard. The production felt, I don't know, it felt really clunky almost like
Yeah.
creatively. Of course, mixed, it sounded great. Mastered, it sounded great, but it was really awkward.
Yeah. Well, to me, it just kind of sounded like too hard. It just sounded like they were trying too hard to make like a TikTok sound. I don't think
That
that it to me it doesn't feel like a Britney song
no,
because, you
oh,
know,
it's called Mind Your Business, which I forgot
mind
to
your business.
mention.
Yeah.
Because I do deeply try and mind my business. But yeah, they are trying to make a TikTok sound and it's falling short. And it does feel like it might have been relevant maybe 5, maybe 10 years ago. So that makes sense with the vocal note, like the voice memo on iPhone.
Yeah, it sounds like this song sounds like will.i.am saw that, TikTok that's been done quite a few times where somebody's like, they'll draw the circle and they're like, "This is my business here, and then this is your business over here," and draws like a circle all the way across the other side of the piece of
The
paper.
Venn diagram does
Y-
not meet.
yeah, and will.i.am saw that and he was like, that's the song right
That's the
there.
song.
That's the
I really
idea."
wanted this to be more of an anthem for Britney after
I
everything that she's
know.
been through. I wanted that so badly of like, especially because people have been so critical of what she's posted online since she's been free. And I wanted it to be her giving a big, huge middle finger to her critics online. And it
Yeah.
just didn't feel like that.
Yeah. Like again, it doesn't, I'm still waiting for like her to release like another big hit that feels like Britney again. Because again, this song to me, I stand by that. I don't feel like it doesn't feel like a Britney song to me,
It doesn't feel like
honestly.
a Britney song, and it doesn't even feel close to what she and will.i.am have done before with Scream and Shout, and is it called Until the World Ends or Till the World
I think
Ends?
Till the World Ends. Yeah.
Till the World Ends. I really like them. I really like both songs. I know you weren't crazy about them.
I think the only one I wasn't that crazy about was You Better Work, Bitch. Like it's a really funny
You know what?
song, but
Yeah.
it's fun, but it's like I as a song, like I'm like yeah, it's doesn't do
Yeah,
it for
no,
me.
it's funny. Mind Your Business reminded me a lot of like Work Bitch crossed with Womanizer.
Oh yeah.
That's what it
It
felt
does
like
feel
to
like
me,
that.
but it fell flat. Like it I still haven't made it all the way through one whole listen because at some point I just get really tired of how repetitive it is. Even like the production feels really repetitive. Like it doesn't build, it just repeats the same section over and over
Yeah,
again.
so my biggest issue with Mind Your Business is not even like what it sounds like. It's the fact that it doesn't have like there's no sections to this song. It's basically like one hook that they kind of try to play over and over again, but there's no real verse here.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because that could have been like an interesting topic for her to talk about and like develop,
100%.
but
It's totally in her
yeah.
wheelhouse too.
Yeah, it just doesn't go there, I don't think.
No, I wish we could get honestly another like toxic out of Britney, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Or even like this song could have gone in the direction of like a Gimme More type of song, and I think that would have been really cool.
I think so. I think it was more produced in a style that fit with will.i.am than it really did with Britney. So, like, it
Mm,
doesn't feel like a Britney song,
yeah.
which we've harped on before. To those of you just joining us on TikTok Live, hi, my name is Nina, and this is Jay, and we are trying to start a podcast called Playback, which is a show all about the Billboard Hot 100 and what's trending in music right now. We've just gone over some of the headlines of the day, and I'd like to get into the top 10. Jay, before I list out the songs, do you have any like commentary on how you saw the chart move this week?
It is in complete disarray. It's all over the place. And I enjoy that. I think I read
I
something
like the chaos. I prefer it.
yeah, I do too. I enjoy the fact that like well, let me start over. I read something a couple weeks ago saying that this was like the first year in I think like at least a decade where a hip hop song or a rap song had not cracked into the top 10 yet. So now we're seeing like I mean not the top 10, the top spot itself, I should say.
Mm.
So I'm just wondering like what that is kind of saying about like the state of music right now and like what's resonating with people because this year in particular like we've seen Morgan Wallen up there, SZA, Miley Cyrus I think were the ones who
Yeah,
primarily
she was
held
number
that
one for a
spot.
while. Yeah.
Um but yeah, I do appreciate now that we're getting like a little bit more variety in the top 10.
Yeah, because we've been following the Billboard Hot 100. We've been tracking it pretty religiously for, would you say, like the better part of a year?
Yeah,
Because we had to for our
for
degree,
our
and now we
degree.
do it just to keep like up with trends, especially as we apply that to our jobs as songwriters. And I mean, do you remember that week that it was all midnights?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
Taylor came out with
it was
Midnights.
all Taylor Swift, which that's a queen moment. Like, that's
She,
impressive as hell.
yeah.
Um,
Even if you don't
but
like
that's
her, you gotta admit
even
that was a
the
slay.
respect I have for that. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that was insane. And who cracked it? Was it SZA who finally like broke in with Taylor? Because it was several weeks
Y-
where like it was like five Taylor songs, three Taylor
yes.
songs.
Yeah.
And
So,
actually Cruel, no, is it Cruel? No, it was I Can See You from the Vault just dropped out of the top 10.
oh, hmm,
So
interesting. But
we
yes,
only have
it was
one Taylor
SZA.
song.
Because I think the SOS album came out shortly after Midnights. So,
Right after Nights, yeah.
mm-hmm. Right. So, I guess
All right. So this week, our top 10 consists of at the top, number one, Seven by Jungkook featuring Lotto. And that is her second entry this year, if you include Big Energy.
Mhm.
Try That in a Small Town, Jason Aldean. Last Night, Morgan Wallen. Fast Car, Luke Combs. Calm Down, Rema and Selena Gomez. Fuck You Mean, Gunna. Is it Gunna? It's Gunna, right?
Gonna try saying
Vampire.
that seriously.
Vampire, Olivia Rodrigo, Cruel Summer, Taylor Swift, Flowers, Miley Cyrus, which has reached 27 weeks on the charts,
Wow.
and All My Life with Lil Durk featuring J. Cole. J. Cole, who happens to be my stepbrother's absolute all-time favorite artist. So shout out to Lance for that. What did you think when you listened to All My Life this week?
Um, I don't know that it's one of my favorite J. Cole songs, but I am a big fan of his. But I'm kind of just glad that he has like a positioning in the chart somewhere, to be honest. But I don't know that this is one that'll stick with me
Yeah,
that
I'm
much,
always
to be
happy to
honest.
see J. Cole on the chart. I have noticed this big trend of 90s R&B like making a comeback in
Yeah.
rap songs and using the hook. So All My Life, it borrows the hook from Casey and JoJo song by the same name, which was released in 1998. It was a huge wedding hit for a number of years, and yeah, this is, I mean, we keep seeing 90s R&B making a comeback, and I know a whole lot of people who are really excited to see more 90s R&B like circle back around or just have some more variety within rap and R&B.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later, but I see that a little bit in Seven also.
100%. The hook is sung by a children's choir, which I felt drastically changed the meaning from this like really popular love song. And if you look at these two rappers, like that song would have come out in their childhood. And I think it gave this kind of like eerie feeling that I kind of
Yeah.
loved because they were talking about like traumatic childhood experiences and formative. And so thinking of like this song in the background as sung by children, like that, it was really moving for me.
Aw.
I liked it.
You should start crying so we get more views.
Oh my God.
That would
I
be
don't think that would work, but
that would be great.
I used to be able to cry on cue. I wonder if I could.
Oh.
All right, Flowers. Miley is hanging in strong. And if you guys don't get that joke, you need to look at the album cover.
Is this her like most successful song yet?
I don't think so. I think Party in the USA was on the charts forever and a day. I'd have to look it up. I'd have to go back to Billboard.
Yeah. I find it interesting that uh I was hoping we'd see some of the other songs from her album crack the top 10 by now.
She did announce that she's not touring though, and she hasn't really released another single, has she? Unless I missed something.
I don't think she has, which is interesting.
Have you seen that like conspiracy theory that she's joined a cult?
No.
Yeah, I think Miley might be in trouble. Like there are some people talking about how she's joined this cult or like um I don't want to say like a religious group, but like a spiritual group.
Same thing.
And yeah, I mean,
No
but
different.
I don't think it's like attached to one major religion. I think it has like several combined. So there I haven't looked too into it, but people were looking at new friends of hers and stuff like that. And they're like, is this why she's not touring anymore? You know, she came out and said that she wasn't going to do that because it's bad for her mental health, which I support. Like touring is terrible on the body and on the mind. And I don't think enough people understand that. And now artists are under the constant threat of having things thrown at them.
I know. That's so weird to me.
It's gotten completely out of control. Like Harry Styles has been
Harry
threatened twice
Styles.
now, I think.
Yeah, and I think it started with BB Rexa, right?
That was
Mostly.
bad. Was that a phone or did a guy run up on stage and hit her? That was either her or Ava Max.
No, I think for BB Rexa it was a phone.
Yeah.
I'm
I think
pretty
Ava
sure.
Max, a guy ran up on stage and like smacked her.
That's so great. Where was
If
her
I'm not mistaken. I had to have to look at the news story again.
where
That
was
was
her security? That's crazy.
I know. As selfish as this sounds though, I almost want Miley and Liam to get back together and break up again so that we
So
get
they give
more
another hit song.
music. She's killing it. She always does after a good breakup.
Honestly, I will say if joining that cult is what's helped her look so great because they were posting pictures of
She
like
looks
her. Yeah,
incredible.
she looks great. Honestly, if
She
that's
looks
what did it, yeah, sign me up. Tell us all about it, Miley. That sounds
yeah, she's
awesome.
glowing. Is it is it a pyramid scheme? I will join.
That's fine. There's already plenty of people out here doing that kind of thing anyway.
This is true, but Playback, the music podcast, does not support MLMs.
That's true. But yeah, Miley should send him like a fruit basket or something, a thank you note, It's the least she could do.
100%. Um, Speaking of who deserves a fruit basket, Bruno Mars. So that song for
Yeah.
a while, people have been talking about how Bruno Mars deserves a credit. How do you feel about that?
No. I just feel like if you start to get into, the little lyrical things like that, then it gets a little bit too much of a slippery slope. If it was like an entire chorus or like sentence that she was borrowing, maybe. But I feel like this feels more like it's inspired by versus like I'm just gonna rip off this Bruno Mars song.
I feel that way 100%. The songs have two completely different vibes.
Yeah.
While like I just you're right, it's a slippery slope. As much as we have had to learn about all of this and the legalities, like we're very cautious about it. But in the same way, like people don't own chords, people don't necessarily own ideas. So
Yeah, so for anybody watching this that is like not familiar with songwriting copyright, you like Nina said, you cannot own chords or like a progression or anything like that. And you you can really only own your lyrics and the melody itself. And that's really important when it comes to understanding like the cases with Ed Sheeran and Katy Perry where she tried to get sued. Somebody tries to sue her for using a specific
chord progression.
chord progression and a scale in Dark Horse, which you cannot own that.
Yeah, if your melody is on a scale, you do not own that. Like you own the lyrics and that's about it. When I first listened to the song, I remember texting you about it because I thought the drums came in too soon and I thought it drowned out the hook for Flowers. After I texted that to you, how did you feel about it?
Listening back to it, I guess I kind of agree. But it just wasn't. I don't know. I guess there was so much. Like I was listening to this song, like waiting for the hype behind it because I listened to it like a little bit later after hearing, oh, she's got this great big breakout hit about her and Liam, and it samples or it, references Bruno Mars and it feels very disco-y. So I was just kind of taking in like all the hype before really even listening to any kind of arrangement stuff going on with it, to be honest with you. Um,
I was happy to hear it. Like I loved
yeah.
it from the first get-go with like that one little like tidbitty thing that just bothered me because I think the world needs more disco.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this song feels a lot more like "I Will Survive" than the Bruno Mars song that she's
It felt
referencing.
like that to me too. So when people were talking about Bruno Mars, I was like, no, this feels more like an
Yeah.
homage to disco, like to the number one disco song of
Yeah,
all time.
that
All hit.
reference to me did not the Bruno Mars lyric did not connect to me until people were, like, talking about it, in all honesty.
It took like Miley fans talking about it for
R
me to go,
right.
oh yeah, I see it. Moving on to number 8 on the countdown is Cruel Summer. This is a really interesting song. This is Taylor Swift's song. and it was the name of Ye, formerly known as Kanye, his compilation album, which featured the song Famous, in which he takes credit for Swift's fame and relaunched their feud and launched her Reputation era. So she wrote a song with the title of his compilation album. At the same time, she had an eventful summer regarding her love life. We were all tracking it, and we don't judge here because we're not fucking haters, but it does make the song more interesting. And what's most interesting is that I think Era's tour in TikTok is really the driving force behind Cruel Summer trending right now when it's from what, 3 albums ago?
At least
Four, if you
2.
include Midnights.
Oh, yeah.
So it would be Midnights, Evermore, Folklore, and then Lover,
Yeah.
if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken.
I think you're
I'm
right.
the resident Swiftie.
Yeah, you definitely are more of a Swiftie than myself.
Personally, I
That's
think the melodies are fantastic in this song.
I was
Like,
gonna say the same thing. I think one thing Taylor Swift does really well is something called a non-lyric hook. So for anybody watching wondering about songwriting, a non-lyric hook is basically just anything you sing like on a syllable, which is what the chorus of this song basically is, or like a word that you kind of stretch out in like a weird way.
and anybody who is listening on TikTok, we invite you to please ask questions. We're talking about the Billboard Hot 100. I have it up here. We're going in reverse order. We've talked about All My Life with Lil Durk featuring J. Cole. We've talked about Flowers, and now we're talking about Cruel Summer. I think Swift and Antonov make a great production team, personally.
I do
And I think the song
too.
sounds great. The lyrics are just so complicated to me.
There's a lot of really interesting imagery in there, like the line about angels and devils.
Yeah,
Angels rolling dice,
devils
devils
roll the dice,
eyes.
angels roll their eyes.
Yeah, that's so good though.
It's so good.
Yeah, I love
The
that.
space in it she does well. It reminded me a lot of Red the song because she has these big like gaping spaces in her verses, and I feel like there's a lot of space in this chorus, and almost to the point of confusion. It's you, it's new, the shape of your body, it's you, it's blue, the feeling I've got, right? Like there's, she says what it is, and then there's a big gaping space, and then she explains what she means by that, which she has done before, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. I had actually not heard this song in a while because I didn't for whatever reason, that Taylor album and, Folklore, I did not listen to. I just never I don't know why, I just never had
I
a chance to. But I really
Sometimes her
like this.
singles have ruined an album for me. Like
Yeah.
Reputation, the first song that came out was Look What You Made Me Do, and now I'm like
Oof.
rediscovering Reputation and really enjoying it.
Yeah. That's very true. I think sometimes she picks what single will, like, do the best versus, like, what is the actual, like, best song on
Her
the
fans picked,
album.
I mean, her fans are what's making this trend right now. Cruel Summer, like because
Yeah.
of the, or because of her fans' dedication, like that's why the song is getting the attention that it always deserved. It wasn't even a single,
Listen,
and yet it's in the top 10.
I think she should listen to them. And if that's the case, because this song for me, it just flows very well, which is kind of like a vague thing to say, but it's just, when you're listening to a song, one of the things that you want to look for is like singability. How easy is this to sing from like start to finish? And I think that this song definitely has that going for it. Whereas, you know, I can't say that about all the songs on Midnights, even though I did like a lot of the songs, but this one, definitely works for me personally.
I would agree 100%. And the bridge is so fun. Like everybody
Mhm.
says that Death by a Thousand Cuts is her best bridge. I'm not going to, like, I'm not going to go against my fellow Swifties on that. However, this one is a lot of fun. I think it's also extremely relatable because unfortunately, I think we've all been drunk in the back of the car, crying like a baby coming home from the bar, or at least I was in a sorority and I witnessed it a lot. We're moving on to the Gen Z queen, Olivia Rodrigo's Vampire, which is at number 7 this week. How did you feel when you first listened to it?
Uh I don't even know what to say when I first heard it because I think it was just like me waiting to hear like is she gonna kind of continue this pop rock song like sound that she had in Sour all throughout, or is she kind of coming into her new own style with this particular album? Because I know one of the biggest criticisms that she got at first, like when she was first putting stuff out, is that a lot of her songs sounded eerily similar to other artists, which I don't consider to be a bad thing personally, but
I don't either.
that is something that like people were saying. So I'm like, I was more so curious, just like, oh, what kind of sound is she gonna go for in this song? And I also do love the title of this song
Yeah.
because it lends for like a very interesting direction to go into, even though it's clearly it was going to be about an ex and somehow, in some way, shape, or form. But I think it's still like clever to frame it in that way.
I think it's an incredibly way of an incredibly clever way of framing it. It's another scathing breakup song. I did read an interview with her where she said that she wants this next album called Guts to be a little more playful than the last album. I
Hmm.
didn't really get playful from this song beside
Oh,
the concept being kind of funny. It did
yeah.
still sound very brokenhearted, and no offense, it did still sound like it was about the same guy. And I was like, I think we're all kind of tired of hearing about him, like girly pop.
Oof, you're that friend. You're like, just move on already. I'm tired. Just break up with your ex already. Hit him
I
with your car.
am the friend. I am the friend who shows up with champagne as soon as you're like, I think I just want to go out tonight. I am the friend who shows up with champagne. I am that friend. I'm always happy for you. Dump that asshole. That is my motto is dump him. And it became hit him with your car
Hit him with
because
your
of that
car.
iconic TikTok.
Shout out to what is it? Chrissy? Is that her name?
100%. I
Hit
think
him
it's
with your
Chrissy.
car. I
He's
love her.
literally just a guy. This guy did break her heart. He was a shithead. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, he was. We don't agree with it, but at the same time, I was looking for something new, and I think the concept is there, and I think it's great. But I feel like it was more invented to pull together a bunch of lyrics as opposed to she came up with a concept and wrote to the concept. I think she had these lyrics that kind of went together, and then she assigned a concept and made them fit it. Does that make sense?
I feel like yeah. So I think another way to say it is I think she wrote the lyrics first and then tried to fit the melody to that.
True. I feel that way too.
Is that kind of what you're trying to say or feeling?
I'm talking about like the concept. Like there are a lot of lyrics that don't tie in really well. I
Oh,
actually
okay.
do think it's a
Yeah.
very lyrically sophisticated song.
Yeah.
Um, like some of the compare like the contrasting elements that she draws. I'm thinking specifically about the pre-chorus, which is twice as long as it needs to be because it doesn't really build except for her voice, and she can sing the phone book.
Yeah.
Like no one is doubting that she's a really good singer. But she what is the first line? She says, I've made some real big mistakes, but you made the worst one look fine. And I was like, big and fine are not opposites, but you're using a contrasting structure. And that was confusing for me. It's like she was going for the rhyme. I just felt like the song could have used some editing, honestly.
Yeah. So, for other curious songwriters out there, when you kind of settle on your concepts, like Nina was talking about, you want to use language that fits within the theme of that concept too. So if you're using something like vampire, you want to stay within this kind of like scary language. Halloween themed, whatever you want to call it, just because that makes your song seem a little bit more cohesive and like you're not just kind of mixing metaphors and all over the place. So that is something that a lot of young songwriters, I don't think, understand too well or are in the habit of yet. So I do notice that with them that sometimes they'll just kind of, put in a lyric there that could be a little bit more tailored to the theme itself. So, she might still be figuring that out. But honestly, my biggest issue with this song is that I just feel like and it's interesting to me that you say that she wanted this to be very playful, because I think that this song drags a little bit too long. The actual,
Just
like,
about to say
yeah,
340 is too damn long.
that, and also, like, all the instruments, like, when the arrangement, like, really, really kicks in, it's not until about the second minute of the song, which for me just felt way too long.
It did feel like it was dragging, and as we know, that's a cardinal sin. You got to pick it up in the first minute.
Yeah.
This is a case of kill your darlings, which is a terrible, terrible phrase that we have has been hammered into us, and it's about taking out your favorite part of the song to make sure the whole thing is cohesive. She does use some good language. You only come out at night. And of course, like the hook, blood sucker, fame fucker, bleeding me out like a goddamn vampire. That also feels disjointed to me. Like, I don't think you need to curse that much in a pop song in the hook.
I don't really like the phrase "fame fucker." Like,
I don't
I
either.
kinda know what she's trying to do, but I kinda feel like she was trying to force a rhyme there with
Yeah, and
"sucker."
then the final line still doesn't rhyme, which is fine. Like, we've not rhymed a final line
Yeah, you don't
ourselves
have to,
100 times.
but
You don't have to, no, but that felt like it was really forcing a rhyme there with bloodsucker.
yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah,
Do we
but
think that this song will stay on there, or was it more like the kind of intrigue of her putting out, like, a new single that kinda carried it to one of the top spots?
well, once again, she hit number 1,
Mhm.
the week it was out, which is incredible, and it's already fallen to number 7. So I think that says a lot about sticking power, and truth be told, I don't think this song has it. I think she has a really large fan base, and I include myself in that fan base. I love her to bits and pieces, but I just don't I feel like the song could have used a lot more editing.
Yeah. I mean, I like the song, but I don't think it's one of my favorites from her, so
No, I wanted more of a déjà vu because the way that she talks
Mm.
about writing déjà vu is it's a critique of modern dating where you just like reinvent yourself over and over again to different people constantly. And I thought that was such an interesting concept and it was executed so well. It's such a good song.
Mhm.
Moving on to number 6, this is Fuck You Mean. It has been top 10 for 6 weeks, and personally, I cannot tell you why. Jay, what was your reaction to it?
It's giving SoundCloud. Like, it's a big, I mean, it's a vibe. This is, like, a cool song that I
It's
would
giving Beat Stars.
Yeah, I mean, this is a song that I would, expect to hear in, like, the background of, like, a party where everybody's just, like, smoking weed, and
Yeah, it's very mid. It's very mid.
yeah, that's kinda, and it's the song that would play as, like, everybody's leaving too, honestly.
I feel like it's an excellent, like, leaving the bar song.
Mhm.
It's I could be the new closing time. Speaking of sticking
Oh
power,
god.
do you think that this has it?
No.
It's been in the top 10 for 6 weeks, which is pretty big
That's
deal.
really, I didn't check that, but that's wild to me. I mean, there's better trap songs out there. I just kinda don't
There are.
understand. I just don't understand, like, why this one has been up there
The
for so
hook isn't
long.
even, like, that great. The ad-lib section is good, per usual, but, like, it's like, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me, personally. It did
Is this trending on TikTok?
I don't know, maybe.
'Cause, I mean, "Fuck You Mean" is, like, a fun, like, I could see that being, like, a sound or something, but not the way that this song uses it.
No, I feel that too, and I think, like, a more upbeat "Fuck You Mean" would have been more fun, like, if this song had been maybe 10, 15 beats per minute faster, it might have been more fun.
I think it would've been fun with, like, a female rapper included in this
100%. Get Latto on this.
Latto or, like, Cardi. Somebody. It needed something. Anyway, I think
Party would be so
yeah,
good.
I think we can move
Alright,
on.
we're moving on to the Afro pop song "Calm Down," which is number 5, featuring Selena Gomez. How did you feel when you first listened to it?
Uh, I think it's a fun song. It's very hooky. It's
Yeah.
not I don't know. It's just it's not one of my, like, favorite things that I've ever heard, but I do appreciate just, like, the very beachy vibes. It's very appropriate for this time of year.
I think so. It's upbeat and calming at the same time. So it does exactly what the title tells me to do. I actually think I need to start listening to it before bed. It might cure my insomnia.
That's fair.
It's been on the charts for 46 weeks, which is a really big
Yeah.
deal and has been considered by many the song of the summer. I don't know about that. I think it's a great summer song, but I don't know if it's the song of the summer. But I also can't name like the song of the summer. Like I can't make an argument for what would be, except for maybe our next song to talk about.
Which is what
Anyway,
again?
this artist knows how to write a hook. Like the song is filled with them 100%. But number 4 is Fast Car, covered by Luke Combs.
Wait. Oh, I thought you were talking about Last Night for a second.
No,
Oh,
Fast
okay.
Car.
I don't know anything about Luke Combs, so I wouldn't know. Um, but I mean, this isn't his. That's weird. This is there's a lot of controversy with this one. I think a lot of people were saying that, oh, this is like, why is it that this version of the song is getting more famous than Tracy Chapman's? But I will say, I saw like on a lot of comment sections, that the most common thing that I saw people saying was, I really love this version and I am happy that he brought it to this generation, but I still love Tracy's more. And I
Tracy's
agree.
is oh, it's the GOAT. Like 100%. I love that song so much. That song holds a special place in my heart.
I
And I
do
actually
too.
listened to Luke Combs talk about how the song meant so much to him growing
Yeah.
up. And I mean, a lot of times male artists covering female songs will change pronouns. He doesn't change a single lyric. The only thing that is really different, and this is super nitpicky, is that it's at 98 BPM and the original is at 104.
Mhm.
And listening to them back to back, it really sounds like Luke's is lagging. It kind of drove me
Yeah,
nuts.
I could see that. Well, I will say one thing also for just audiophiles out there in general. Another big like difference for me, because I do like a lot of engineering and stuff, is the mix of this song.
Mhm.
It's a lot wider, and the way that the instruments are panned are a little bit more adhering to like what the other songs on Billboard right now are doing. So I think it's really interesting to see that also. That even something like audio engineering and mixing evolves over time.
And I don't think it's the artist's fault that his rendition is doing so well. I think that's a
No,
skill issue. However, this is the first time that a Black woman is on the country charts as a songwriter, which is huge.
I get those coins, sis. I don't think she's I
I
don't think she's that, upset about it as some of the other people.
No, she's making money off of I hope she makes a ton of money. I know we only get micropayments. For those of you who don't know, we get micropayments per stream. So stream the hell out of the song and do it for Tracy. I
Yeah,
love this song,
I do too.
100%.
And actually, I even like the Jonas Blue cover of it, which is like a way more dancey version of it. So it's
I do
it's like
too.
I will I will take any version of the song I can get, honestly. It's that good.
It just goes to show how brilliant the song is to
Yeah.
begin with. That it, I mean, for those of you who don't know, that is a more dancey version of it. And it is interesting to hear all three of these back to back. I wish we could play them in a row. Um, but no, that is, I mean, the marker of a great song is that it can, like transmute genre. Because I wouldn't call Tracy's original version country.
I wouldn't either.
And I think the only reason why this is being called country is because it's being sung by a country artist.
Yeah. Well, one interesting thing that I think we should point out about like both versions right now that are charting is that they both came out at a time when like that genre that respective artist was making wasn't always like, necessarily considered top of Billboard itself. Like you have some
Right.
anomalies sometimes, but like when Tracy Chapman put out that song, like heavy rock was in at the time. And like now Luke Combs is coming in at a time when like really only Morgan Wallen uh or Wallen was up there on the charts. Everything else was like hip hop, pop, R&B kind of stuff. So I think that's an interesting comparison too.
Do you remember we listened to a lecture on like the death of the chorus and about how it was all about drops? Do you think that society has circled back from that? Like, because I remember,
I
5, 10 years ago that it was all about like drops and post choruses that were super repetitive, that were easy to dance to. Do you think we're coming back around and really appreciating like instrumentation and like a good chorus again, like Fast Car that pulls everything together?
I do. And I think I would thank TikTok for that because you know, TikTok is all about like that 10-second sound clip, which is essentially
Of
what
course.
a chorus should be, in my
Yeah.
opinion. It should be short to the point and have like a really hooky element. So yeah.
100%. It's a long chorus that breaks a rule with me, usually. Like if I hear a long chorus and it's catchy and it keeps my attention all the way to the end, that's an outlier in my opinion. Because usually if it's short, kind of the shorter the better.
Mhm.
Moving on to spot number 3, knocked off the top spot after 14 weeks, is Morgan Wallen's Last Night. I know you're a fan of the song. I am not. So I'll let you start.
I think I just like this song because it just is so, I don't know, it's country music that doesn't feel like it's trying to take itself too seriously. It's trying to appeal to kind of everyone. And so I know some people think that's like a bad thing, but I disagree with that. I just feel like a good hook is gonna carry like no matter what the genre is. And I think that this song does a good job of having a hook in every section and with the instrumental itself too. So it's just like all the elements really stick to you. So that's kind of what for me propels it to something that I do think it was like worthy of being on the top spot for a couple weeks.
That's good that you say that. There is a lot of gatekeeping in country music.
Yes,
It's a
for
very
sure.
gatekeeping genre, and this song feels like it combines things that we love about country music, like the classic turn of phrase and these like great motifs, and it has a great melodic rhythm that's very modern. So it incorporates a lot of like modern elements. And when I talk about melodic rhythm, that's a little bit of a nitpicky thing, but it's kind of just how fast the words come out or how slow.
Mhm.
Just very like brushing over the topic very quickly. Um, the the chorus with last night and ending it with last night, and by the time we get there, it has a different meaning is very interesting.
Yeah. That's
Um,
a very common, that's called like the Nashville fake out
yeah,
technique. It's very cool. So people that don't know, it's like if you give your song like a specific title that kind of has a specific connotation to it, and then you get to how they use it like in the actual context of the song, and it means like the opposite thing. That's kind of the Nashville fake out. And I think this song does a good job of it.
well, that comes from it's very much Nashville culture to come up with a title and write a song to the title.
That's right.
So
Hmm.
that, yeah, so that you write the chorus to the title and then you write the verses to the chorus so that everything feels really cohesive. As a matter of fact, like when you and I were first starting out in our master's degree program, we were told to utilize that because it's very easy to
Yes.
let concepts get away from you. And so that's also kind of how that Nashville fake out came around. Um, Morgan Wallen is kind of a controversial figure. He has had some not nice headlines about him. I think he has apologized. A lot of people have said that it's not good enough. And the big criticism against him is that country music has moved on from accusations of racism like way too quickly. And I don't necessarily know how I feel about that. I've never been a big Morgan Wallen fan. It's icky territory.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know like him as an artist that well, to be honest. I just know like these couple of songs because we had to analyze them
Yeah,
for like a
100%.
couple of assignments. So it's like we kind of didn't have a choice, but I'm happy we did because yeah, I mean, I do like the song and I like You Proof as well. But I don't know like him, like his backstory or lore that well. So
Yeah,
I
I was
can't speak
listening
on that.
to a podcast a few weeks ago, and Hassan Piker dropped the most accurate thing I've ever heard. And he said, "You're not really canceled until your fans cancel you." And so
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's why country artists tend to have a much bigger, faster comeback when it comes to different controversies than other artists in the industry,
Yeah.
because country is, they say it's a family.
Yeah.
Speaking of controversial songs, we're going to move on to the most controversial song I think I've ever had to talk about, and it's called Try That in a Small Town by Jason Aldean.
I'm gonna let you speak first on this one since I spoke
Oh,
on the other one.
yay.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of conversation about, is this song racist or not? A lot of people smarter than me have pointed out how the song is racially charged, and I think the lyrics are up to interpretation. I think the video is extremely problematic, and I think if you combine the two, X marks the spot. My hot take on this song is, even if it wasn't controversial, it would still be a really terrible song. If the lyrics were all sunshine and rainbows, and it was the same exact structure, the structure makes no sense whatsoever. Did you notice that when you listened to it?
Yes.
The melodies are all over the place. The there's a pre-chorus in the first part of the song, but not in the second part of the song. The first verse is 4 lines. The second verse is only 3 lines before it goes back in. Oops, sorry.
Okay.
And it's all over the place. The production feels really dated, which you can definitely speak to that, but it feels like country 10, 15 years ago. It doesn't feel like modern country now, whereas Morgan Wallen, like, that feels like country now, that feels modern. It's
Yeah.
just I I don't know, other than controversy, if this would have gotten anywhere.
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, there's not much more I can add to that other than yeah, so like the production stuff for me when it comes to this song, I do think it feels dated. Cuz even compared to the the Luke Combs song, which is a cover of a song from 30 years ago, maybe at this point,
1988,
right?
right?
That mix sounds more modern to me than this one. This just sounds like very
100%.
muddy and it just, it sounds like it was recorded overnight. Like it sounds like they just did it in the course of a day. And we can talk about it, the controversies about it until, you know,
The
next
cows
week.
come.
Yeah, next week probably, but it's not going to change the fact that this is just a very mid-tier song. Like
It is,
mid to bad, honestly.
it's mid to bad in a genre that only really peaks if it's excellent, right? And that
Yeah.
only really peaks like when it has a pop element to it. Like, unfortunately, we do see a lot of country on the Billboard Hot 100, but not necessarily in the top 10.
Yeah.
And like, the streams went up 999%. And you know what? I have said this about breakup songs that weren't that good, but they had a lot of clout because there was controversy behind it. And I've said this song is not good. It's not a good song and it's not going to last long. And I was right a few times. I'm going to toot my own horn on that. So it's a bad, messy song. Like, if someone brought it to me and it didn't have the controversial lyrics in it, same structure, all of it, I would have been like, you need to go back and rewrite this. Like, you need to spend more time on this because it is all over the place. And while all over the place songs happen, there's a reason for that. Like, I've written songs that the theme is kind of about mental health, and so I wrote it all over the place to like create a feeling around it. So there's a time and a purpose for those things, but country music is very formulaic
Yeah.
because you want people to sing along. Like, I can't hum you this melody, and that to me means that it's not a hit.
Yeah. And it's a shame because like we've talked about, like the past country hits that we've had on the top 10, I've really liked. And I clearly, you can just look at me and tell I'm obviously not the biggest country
Hey,
aficionado in the world. But yeah, again, I really liked the Morgan Wallen songs and Luke Combs. But this one for me, in theory, I really like the idea of what he's writing about, how, it's good to have like this close knit community. But then it starts to go into the territory of, like, vigilantism, and
Which is always illegal.
I'm
Like,
like
whether the song is racist or not, it's promoting illegal activity.
yeah, and
That's
I'm like, "Were you trying to write the George Zimmerman musical?" Like, that's the only thing that's my only takeaway from this song.
and right now, like, how many teenagers have been shot this year by, like, pulling into the wrong driveway or accidentally getting into the wrong car? And so, like, this message is
Oof.
not really what we need right now. We do need something that's a little more come together. So if it was about, like, in a small town, which I live in a small town, I live in a small town. I looked it up today. I thought we were maybe in the thousands. It turns out we're less than 300. We're so small. And, like, to talk about that community and to talk about how nice it is to raise your kids around here, like, that is a great message that I think we need and I think is always
Yeah,
relevant because small towns deserve love too.
yeah.
We
It's
do.
a shame, it's a wasted opportunity.
It is. It 100% is. I'm hoping its place on the chart is purely due to the controversy and it'll fall off next week because I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's a bad song. It's objectively a bad song. And the worst take that I heard was that this was a great song and Maren Morris, who's had like public beef with Jason Aldean, is not talented. And I was like,
That's
in what world is
that's
Maren
r
Morris not talented?
that's ridiculous, I'm
Even if you don't
sorry.
agree with her politics, please listen to the song once. That song breaks my heart every time I hear it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
you're right. Like, now that you actually pointed out the whole thing about, like, if I cannot sing back any part of this song right now. Like, if you were to, point a gun to my head and say, "Sing at least one hook from this song right now," my brains would
I
be
would kill
splattered
it now.
everywhere,
I can't even sing you the
everywhere.
title. I I can't sing you the title.
I can't
I
either.
really can't. I can't even think of it, and I listened to it, like, 5 times today, looking for a redeeming quality in the song. It's bad all the way to the bridge and back.
Yeah.
It's yeah. There's it's poor songwriting, and you know what I can't believe is that it had 3 songwriters on it. I was like, "3 of y'all went in a room and this is what you came out with that day? And you got it picked up?" You know what? If this
Bruh.
song wasn't so controversial, you and I have this ongoing joke about listening to bad art to make you feel better. This would be on my bad art list.
Some lore for you listeners out there. Before we started this podcast, I was like, Nina, are we going to roast any of these songs or should we just avoid doing that? And she was like, I think we should try to be on the nicer side. Cut to today.
I
But
don't
I
think
mean,
I've said anything that doesn't have an art. I don't think I've said anything mean. I have a
no, no, I just think it's funny. Um, cool. I'm tired of talking about this fucking song. Let's go to the top one, the top
okay,
spot.
then number 1 of BTS fame is Jungkook with 7, and I love this song. I think it's so fun.
I do too. And this drum pattern, even though I'm pretty sure it's like a logic loop somewhere, I love it.
It sounded like a Logic
It
loop to
is.
me,
I think it is. It's like the
or
drum and
Logic drummer.
yeah, like the drum and bass one of those. Cause this sounds a lot like even though it didn't chart, unfortunately, the Tori Kelly song, Missing You, like the production is the drum production is very similar. And I hope people keep making music that sounds like this, honestly. I think it sounds modern and cool, but it also has like that 90s R&B flair that we were talking about earlier. Like this
It felt very
sounds
90s pop to me, 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
the song it reminded me a lot of just like concept-wise was 7 Days by Craig David.
Mhm.
Cuz it just has like a weird melodic uh structure to it also, but it's like the same kind of concept.
I was trying to figure out the key, and I couldn't figure out what key it was in. The chords are a little funky, and I was wondering if it was, like, Dorian, but in a funk concept, and that is, like, some really some really deep music theory.
Oh, yeah,
Looked it up
that's
online, it said it was B major, and I was like, but it's got a C major chord in it. Mm, I don't
yeah,
know."
that's more so your territory. Honestly, with like the complex theory stuff, I'm just like, does it sound good or not? Or does it sound like
Yeah,
shit?
well, I
Like,
mean, at the end of the day, it obviously sounds good.
Yeah,
This is a big moment for K-pop stans, and I feel really like behind the ball on this. Like I didn't get into BTS, like I didn't get into K-pop, and so I don't know enough about it.
I didn't.
But I'm having so much fun listening to K-pop now.
Yeah, I was about to say I didn't really either, but in this case, I'm almost kind of glad I didn't because then I got to just appreciate the song itself for like what
Hmm.
it is. Because I think one of the other members, was it him still, that had like another hit that was like on the top spot for like a week only?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, and
I
I
really
I
hope this doesn't fall.
I don't remember that song honestly, but I mean this one obviously I liked it, so and I do remember it, so clearly I liked it more.
I will say my only knock against this song is that I like the clean version better than I like the explicit
Yeah,
version.
I do
Rare for me.
I do too. Like, okay, I know they were going for like an R&B kind of thing, but to me, there is like nothing like less sexy than somebody that's just trying too hard to curse. Like, you sound like a 12-year-old that just learned
I
the
was
F
gonna
word.
say, like, it just feels crass. And you know how you feel
Yeah,
some people curse and you like don't believe them, like they maybe grew up in a really strict or religious house and they
yeah,
started cursing finally, and it was like 10 years too late. And so you just it's not believable when they drop an F bomb. And there's also
yeah.
something really unsexy about a guy being like, I want to fuck you, as opposed to a guy being like, I want to make love to you. Like, which do we prefer here? Like, one is gonna sound more edgy in a song, maybe, possibly, but no, I think the clean version is a lot better.
Yeah, it's like when a Disney star, starts dropping F-bombs. You're just like, "What is this?"
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, we went from 0 to 100. You don't have to prove to us that you're all grown quite yet.
No, but it's just that's how I felt when he said fuck.
Yeah, no, I do. Now that you mention that, I do agree with that. I do like the.
Some of the
This is
verse lyrics don't quite work super well, but I'm not mad about it because the melody's so solid. It's
yeah,
so simple that I think there were a few like misunderstandings with like what is current vernacular in the English language. You and I have both tried to write in our second language, and it is difficult
it's
as
hard.
all. It's so hard.
It's hard because at a certain point you start thinking, even in your like mind, you form sentences according to like whichever one you're more comfortable with. So when you get back to like your, you know, a language that you know but you're not as comfortable with, you're like, okay, I know what I want to say, but I don't know how like phonetically I would actually write this in a way that makes sense in this language.
Right.
It's so
And
it's
then there
tricky.
are a lot of times where you say something and it accidentally sounds like way too formal, you know?
Yeah,
Like it's not just about does it translate, it's about like does it feel cool? Does it feel modern,
yeah.
which is hard with lyrics.
Are people actually speaking like this in that
100%.
market that I'm trying to break into? Which a lot of the times you can't just like Google Translator or AI it because it will come up, like Nina said, the more like formal version of saying it versus how like your average person on the street that actually probably would listen to this kind of music would say it.
Yeah, and it almost makes me love this song even more because I know it's this person's second language. Like that is so
Yeah,
difficult. I love
I
that he's
agree.
seeing success with it.
I think it's
Um,
cool.
I have so much love for international artists who make the leap. It is incredibly, incredibly difficult.
I know.
I will say I watched the music video in prepping and it reminded me of this girl on TikTok, and her name escapes me now. I know I follow her. She said she was giving up on American skincare. And let me tell you what, seeing how good his skin looks, I think I'm
Oh
about to give
yeah.
up on American skincare too.
Well, I mean, in that part of the world, they have like the bathhouses and spas. They're just like everywhere, and that's why they kind of brought them over here. But that's a
He's
whole other topic for another day.
It is. He's hot. Like I hope he's gonna do well. I mean, he had a lot of swag in the video. There was a funeral scene in the video, and Lotto was like licking the coffin, which was so weird.
As one does.
As
Mhm.
one does
Mhm. Mhm.
when you're deeply sad. Of course, that is how you express your remorse.
Listen, everyone has a different way of grieving, Nina. Don't judge her for that.
No, we do not. But it reminded me of the Taylor Swift anti-hero video because the setup with like the coffin and like the small funeral and stuff. I was like, are we going to see more funerals in music videos?
Hmm.
I'm not mad about it, but he even like peeks out the way that Taylor peeks out.
Oh, interesting. Well, okay, that's weird. I didn't watch the video because most of the time I don't care about music videos anymore,
I don't care about
to be
videos
honest. But just like that makes me curious to watch it because I wouldn't expect this song. Like an anti-hero, it makes sense for there to be
usually.
like that kind of scene in there. But for this one, I'm
And it
like,
made me
how's it
laugh out loud. That scene, like I was on the floor, I was laughing so hard.
for
It,
anti-hero?
yeah, I thought it was really well done.
I agree. um,
Everything goes to a cat sanctuary. That was great. But yeah,
cool.
so he does not the point of the video is not to donate to cats. His is more like loving this girl to death. It feels a little all over the place. This video, it's very chaotic and there was a lot of money spent on it. Like you look at the production value and you're like, "Oh my God." When he could have done something a lot more simplistic and I think have trended better, especially as good of a dancer as he is, as these K-pop guys are.
That's
I
right.
remember Trevor Noah made a comment about like you see BTS and you're like, what the fuck was NSYNC doing?
Mm-hmm.
They can dance.
Yeah, they're like in sync on crack over there. Like I don't know what I don't know what kind of regiment they have them on there, but they're insane.
They are so good. I'm really happy for his success. I'm really happy for Lado too. This is her second time on the chart this year. Previously with Big Energy of TikTok fame, it was a TikTok darling, a huge trend for a long time. And I love her. I think she's got a lot of charisma. I think her rhymes are good. And so I'm happy that she's having this success.
Cool. I'm not that familiar with her, honestly. I should probably get on the Lotto bandwagon.
I would love to
I'm
see you produce for Lado.
oh, that'd be fun. That might be fun.
I see you working with a lot of female rappers. I feel like you would have a lot of fun with
I
that. Like
feel like I feel like I would have a ball with Ice
you
Spice.
have too much fun, honestly.
Absolutely. Like that drill kind of sound that she makes. It's so like she does all the time. It's so cool. I love her.
I feel like you would produce for like a bunch of female rappers and then turn around and some indie pop artist would be like, "Hey, can you do this for me?" And you'd be like, "No, I work with excellence only."
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
that is our summary of the Billboard Hot 100, the top 10, and what has been going on. Um, we would like to move into our final segment, which is our playback picks of the week, what we have been listening to and what we have been specifically playing back over and over again. Jay, what have you been listening to this week?
Um a lot of random stuff. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull this up. And we will also have like a what am I trying to say? A playlist of all of our picks for the week available too, in case you guys are curious. Uh, but I've been listening to a lot of the new Tiny album that dropped. So he's like a for those of you guys that don't know, he's like a very legendary reggaeton producer. He kind of like put it on the map. So all the tracks from there, I think it's a very like weird but like unique kind of album. He
I haven't
has
listened to it yet. What's your favorite part about it?
uh this song that features like a bunch of different it's called Pa Siempre. And it has people on there like Arca, who is one of my favorite artists as well, because they do really like weird reggaeton stuff also. They kind of brought it into the future, like it's like reggaeton from the Blade Runner universe, which for me is like everything.
I'm sold. I'm so
Yeah.
sold so fast. Reggaeton, Blade Runner. If I knew how to say Blade Runner in Spanish, I would.
I feel like you
That
would
I feel like that is a hit that we should explore is like Latino Blade Runner. If
be
if
fun.
if we were writing, we support you, WAG.
Yeah.
WGA, sorry. WG something completely different, Nina. Okay, my playback pick this week and a song that I cannot stop listening to is called Red Wine Supernova. It's by Chapel Roan.
Mm.
She's a 25-year-old queer artist from Missouri who was signed before she even graduated high school. And she's just
Damn.
now starting to get some success. The chorus doesn't make any sense, like not at all, but it's such a catchy melody. I don't even care. And the verses are really fun. Of course, we love women songs all day
Mm,
long. The bridge is possibly the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
work.
It is so inappropriate. It's she's trying to talk this girl into coming home with her, and she says, "Back at my house, I've got a California king. Okay, maybe it's a twin bed and some roommates." And then her band comes in and goes, "Don't worry, we're cool."
Oh, wow.
And it finishes with,
That's just so sexy. I just makes me feel all yummy inside.
it's so self-deprecating, it's super funny. It finishes with, "I heard you like magic. I've got a wand and a rabbit."
Yeah, she's got a wand.
It's
That's
possibly one of the
wild.
most creative bridges I've ever heard, and it comes kind of out of left field in the song, but I love it. I love the structure of it. I love the song start to finish. The melodic rhythms remind me a lot of Julia Michaels, actually.
Oh,
So
interesting.
she's got a great voice.
Yeah.
She admits herself that she doesn't have a great understanding of theory. There are a few moments that some of the ad libs don't feel quite right,
Mm,
but it works.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't really
The old
care,
adage, if it sounds
honestly.
good, it is good.
Yep. And if it sounds like shit, it is shit.
Is that your final wisdom for the week, Jay?
Yeah.
One, I love it.
Yeah. Let's.
Take that
Okay.
to the
Bye,
bank.
everybody.
Let's put it on a t-shirt and sell it as merch,
Yeah.
please. All right, guys, that is our final segment. Jay, do you have any parting words for our audience?
Uh, None of them are appropriate, so I'll just leave that up to you.
All right, guys, we love you. As always, do good, go create some good in this world, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Deuces.